have a lot of things to learn, but this is the right time to start learning advanced concepts in JavaScript. So we already understand that what is ECMAScript in the last session. So JavaScript was introduced in 1995. Just quickly in a minute, I will just revise that and then we can jump into the topic. JavaScript was introduced in 1995. So 2015, okay, 2015 is the very important year in the JavaScript journey. That is because there was introduced new features. Okay, right now they have a ECMAScript 2021 version, but this is introduced in 2015. But lots of features, lot of important features they have introduced. So that's why everyone will expect that um, you should aware of ES6 features. So in that we should mention few important things. Okay, new features in ES6, the let and constants are introduced and arrow function, spread operator, and the classes and promises. Of course, lots of other things also there here, but these are very important. Okay, objects and modules and let constant and arrow functions and spread operator. Okay, and promises as well. So we can learn one by one from today. So today's topic is what is the need of introduce a new declaration type like a let and constant, because already we are working with a var, right? We are working with a var. So what is the need of introducing uh, new declaration type as let or constant? So first, before, if you want to understand that, first of all we should understand what is the problem with a var. What is the problem with var? Then we can understand easily what is the need of let and constant. So we can open VS Code and we can start write some code, then you will understand what is the need of that. So somewhere my mission is slow today. I'm not sure why, but just bear with the situation. And normally you can do a equal to a console.log of a. Okay. Suppose you have defined this variable a for some particular purpose, or you can you are using this variable many times in your program. So, but suddenly by mistake, someone came here, and he tried to redeclare with the same name. Okay, this is the identifier. Okay, variable name. We can call this is identifier. If you want to identify a variable, you need a name, right? That is like here, we are using a. So if someone came and he just tried to store something like this, so JavaScript doesn't show any error actually. If you see, if someone came in the middle and if you try to redeclare the same variable with the same identifier, declare the variable with the same identifier, it doesn't show any error. So at this situation, the a value is 10, and here a value will become this for like set 5x. Okay, let me add the triple x. So if you open this in the browser, you will see output as a triple x. So that's the problem. So we should not allow to redeclare a variable. If you see, the output is triple x. So this is the problem. So this it will not happen in any other programming language. So if you see, even if I think if you have an idea about The C language, once you define int a is equal to 10, you can't redeclare again like a equal to something else. It's not possible because it will throw you an error, compilation error. But JavaScript is not going to throw any error. So this is the problem, because if you declare a variable and someone came in the middle, and if you try to redeclare with the same name, and your information will be lost, you are going to lose your information. So that's why we should not allow for that. And there are other reasons also there to introduce let and constant. So this is the one reason. So if you instead of using var, if you declare with a let, what will happen, we can understand now. So how it will restrict the the programmers to do mistakes. So I'm doing the same kind of logic here, where b is equal to 20. So now instead of using var, if you declare with a let, so this let is introduced in 2015 as ES6 feature. ES6 means ECMAScript version 6. So now if you try to redeclare again with the b equal to some triple y or anything, so immediately even Visual Studio Code itself is clearly saying that cannot redeclare block scoped variable b. So that means what he's saying, you cannot redeclare. So of course, block scope. What is a block scope? We can learn in coming days, like coming sessions, very soon. So we cannot redeclare. That means once you declare the variable with any identifier, you cannot redeclare that variable again. So this is the awesome feature. So from today onwards, suppose December 15th, you should not use a var to declare the variables. Okay, from today onwards, you should start using let only. Okay, this is one important thing. So so if you see, it will avoid the lots of mistakes. So now, so we are not going to use var. Wherever you are using var, just replace with a let. So if you see, if you just go to the documentation, so always documentation is very important. Please, whenever you have a time, please go and read the documentation. So here is mentioning three important things. So variables defined with let cannot be redeclared. That's already we understood. And he's saying two more things. Variable defined with let must be declared before use. Okay, if you want to understand this statement, we need to understand one more concept called hosting. Okay, the concept name is the hosting. And another important thing as temporal dead zone. So if you understand these two concepts, then only you will understand what is the meaning of this statement. Variables defined with let must be declared before use. Okay, anyway, we are going to learn what is hosting, what is temporal dead zone, and what is the meaning of this statement, so that you will understand what is the power of let. And then another thing is variables defined with let have a block scope. So here, if you want to understand this statement properly, we should understand the scope in JavaScript. This is the most important topic in JavaScript. Without understanding what is scope and what is hosting, we can't become a good developers. So we will do a lot of mistakes if you don't understand these things. So scope, okay, there are three types of scopes importantly. That is a global scope, and a local scope, and another one is a block scope. So these things also we are going to learn in coming sessions. So but here, before going to jump into what is hosting and what is temporal dead zone, what is a block scope or what the hell is this scope, so we should understand some basics about constant also. So here, if you go to the documentation of the constant, you will find another new statement here. This is very important. You can understand easily. So variable defined with constant cannot be redeclared. Of course, let is also following the same rule. And here, of course, variable defined with constant have a block scope. The let also following the same rule. And here, let is following one extra rule, that is variables defined with constant cannot be reassigned. So redeclaration is different, reassignment is completely different. So let's see what is the meaning of reassign and why constant is not going to allow us to reassign. So so let so we if you want to declare any variable, always you can go with a let, and that is fine. So now when in which situation we should go for a constant? Suppose I'm just defining some constant, the c is equal to 30. C is equal to 30. So, and here, what is the meaning of this statement? Where the variable defined with the constant cannot be reassigned. Reassigned. So I will just copy the same thing here. So what it is saying? Here, let's see, we can try with a let first. What I'm doing, let b is equal to 20. Later, I want to change the value of b to 30. So it doesn't show any error. So if you see, I'm going to console.log b, it is not going to throw any error. But here, if you try to reassign some value, if you try to assign a new value to a constant, it will throw an error. Because constant means the programmer or developer decided that this value is constant. I don't want to change this value. So, for example, in the mathematics, if you want to calculate the area of a circle or a circumference of the circle, the maybe the rule is pi r square, right? Pi r into r, area of the circle, if I'm not wrong. So the value of pi is always a constant, right? The pi value always equal to 3.14. So we should not allow any developer or any other person to change this value. So if you see, constant c is equal to 30. This is valid. So you can, while while declaring the variable, you can assign a value. But once you have done this, after that you can't reassign. That means you can't change this value. So the statement is something different. You can't change the value is different. You can't reassign. The meaning of these two things are different. So here the statement, you just understand here, variables defined with constant cannot be reassigned. Okay, I'm saying one thing to confuse you, like variables, if you define with a constant, you can change the values in some situation in a different way that we are going to learn in next 5 to 10 minutes. Don't worry. But constant don't allow us to reassign a new value. So if you see, if I try to reassign this value, definitely we will get some error while executing the code. So I'm doing console.log c. Okay, going to display, refresh. So definitely you will get some error. So if you see, it's saying that uncaught type error. So please just remember what is the type of the error also, so that it's easy to recognize with the types also. Okay, there are different types of errors. So this error is of type uncaught type error. And assignment to constant variable, that means it's not going to allow us to reassign a new value to a constant. So here we are not getting any error because you can do n number of times. B is equal to 30, 40, even you want to change like B is equal to some other string. In JavaScript, it is a valid syntax. Okay, so we can't get any problem. So if you see console.log, so if you try to log, it will be a problem. So if you see B value triple X, we don't have any problem, and when it comes to the constant, we have a problem. So now just give me confirmation that you guys understood, or do you have any questions here? So let's see. I'm not sure whether live is coming or not because I just connected to mobile network. So if it is not, definitely I'm recording this one so that you can, of course, I think it's it's working. Fantastic. So just give me confirmation. Meanwhile, you guys understood or not. Hopefully, yes. So I don't want to waste the data. That's why I'm closing this. Okay. Hopefully, you guys understood. Now we are going to understand very important topic and very important interview question also in JavaScript. So just try to answer few things. So you guys understood what is let and what is constant. Okay, let follow the simple rule, we can't redeclare, and the constant will follow extra rule, that is we can't reassign also. Okay, so let we can't redeclare, and constant also. Okay, constant also you can't redeclare, but we have another rule for constant, that means we can't reassign a new value, whatever it is. We can't reassign means you can't give like constant a is equal to 20, again you can't do a is equal to 30 or 40. But in some situations this is going to be confuse us. Okay, what is that? So let's see, I'm just declaring constant a is equal to, let's suppose a salary is equal to the 50,000. So the salary is equal to 50,000, and if I do console.log the salary. Okay, console.log salary. So we don't have any problem because this is even if it is a constant, we are not going to do anything here, so you will get the output clearly that 50,000. But if you see, whenever you try to change the salary to the 60,000, it is going to throw an error, right? Already we have seen one example. So that means whenever you're storing salaries, because salary maybe every year you're going to expect that you need some increment. That's why you should not store a salary as a constant. So for that, go with a let. So whenever you feel this is not going to be reassigned, you're not going to add a change anything in that situation, you can go with the constant. But still, if you go with the arrays, there are some twists and turns are there. Okay, so that let me take some example. So constant marks is equal to, so I'm storing like 89, 88, 87. Okay, everyone please focus on the question what I'm going to ask. So otherwise, for understanding purpose, I will give a 66 and 77 and 88. Okay. So if I do console.log console.log. Okay, marks. Let's see whether it is displaying or not. Of course, everyone knows that it doesn't throw any error. We will get the output properly. So we have the 66, 77, and 88. Now I'm going to ask one question. So just try to answer. So if I try to do marks is equal, suppose if you want to add like this, like if I want to give like 88 and 99 and 79. So just give me answer first for this first, and then I will ask another question. That the second question is most important. So if you know the answer for this, then only you can answer for the next question. Just let me just give a confirmation that whether it will throw an error or it doesn't show any error. So quickly observe the code first. So even I will copy paste in the chart. Okay, chart. Observe carefully and tell me whether it will show an error or not. Quickly, don't take too much time if you know the answer. Okay, Bhavita said error. Everyone should answer because, yeah, if you're not able to interact, I'm saying it's very difficult to survive in IT industry. So everyone is saying error. Yes, because we are discussing that we are not, it is not going to assign, we can't reassign. Reassign the value. So this is a error. This is the error, right? Simply it will be error. So fantastic. So that's why I'm not going to do that. So if you want the confirmation one more time, no problem. We can see how what is browser is saying. So if his browser is clearly saying that assignment to constant variable at index.html file line number 23. So if you just go to the line number 23, so it is saying that this go we can't reassign. So that's why I'm not going to do that mistake. So I will just comment that code. So now I'm doing one more thing. Just try to give me the answer. So I'm doing the marks of 2 equal to 100. So what I'm doing? I'm doing marks of 2 is equal to 100. So I'm trying to change this value 0, 1, 2. I want to change the value from 88 to 100. So whether it will throw an error or not. This is the most important thing. Just guess, or if you know the answer, tell me. If you don't know the answer, just at least try to answer with your knowledge, what you have learned so far. So what I'm asking, the question is, no problem. If you want, you can take. Yeah, now give me the answer now. Constant marks is equal to 66, 77, and 88. I try to change the a value of the third subject details, like marks of 2 is equal to 100. So whether it is going to replace 88 with 100. So I think maybe my video is just going to hide this while watching the live. I hope you can see here. So no problem, just try to give the answer. Whether it is a right or wrong, we don't need to worry about that. Just but try it quickly. At least say that whether it will throw an error or not. Yes or no. Version said no, sir, error. Means what you're saying? You're saying that it will throw an error or not? Give me one more confirmation one more time. Version. Pavita, Balavardhan, Jahnavi. No problem. We have only two choices. Yeah. Version said it's going to throw an error. Okay, good. Remaining people, what is your opinion? Either if you don't know the answer, just at least give a toss and tell me the head or tail, like that, whether it will throw an error or not. So Jahnavi said error. Okay. Varshan is also going for error. Balavardhan is also going for error. Okay. Good. Bhavita Sri said, I think no error. We are not that redeclaring. We are changing the variable. Oh. So if you see what Bhavita is saying that we are not reassigning the value. So redeclaration is different, reassign is different. Of course, anyway, we are not doing redeclaration. And here we are not doing reassignment also. So if you observe carefully, we are not doing reassignment also. We just try to change the variable. So here, if you want to understand this, you need to understand what is call by value, okay, and call by reference. Otherwise, okay, call by value and call by reference, the naming will come when you are dealing with the functions. Otherwise, you at least you should understand uh, how these value types will work and how this types reference types will work. Already we have discussed, we have a 1 hour discussion on this and what is the difference between primitives and non-primitives, right? So if you understand why it is going to behave differently, of course I will show an error because everyone is expecting that, of course, even naturally anyone. So if whatever you learn so far, naturally out of 100 people, 99% of the people will think that okay, definitely it will throw an error because we discussed that if you try to, because it's a constant, that means we feel that it's a constant, that's why even if you try to change any value it should throw an error. So that's what we think. But if you see, marks of 2 is equal to 100 and it is not going to throw an error. So that's a surprise. So if you see, it is not throwing any error. It is as updated the value. So 66, 77, 100. So if you see, even I'm adding marks dot push. If I try to add a new subject details like a 55, it is not going to throw an error. It is just adding. And here, if you want to shift or unshift whatever the knowledge you have to deal with arrays, it's not going to throw an error. But here, it is clearly saying reassign means if you try to reassign completely. So if you try to, this is the reassignment. Suppose if you try to do like this 66 and 77 and 100, so these without throwing an error because it's a constant, right? The surprising thing is these are not value types, right? These are dealing with the references. These are dealing with the references. So now just recollect what are the primitives and non-primitives. So I will just show here. So please, if you didn't watch that video, please go back and try to understand what is primitive and non-primitive, what is called by value and called by reference thoroughly. Then only you will understand this. So if you see, we have a primitives and at the same non-primitives. non-primitives. So fundamental things are like a string, okay, number, and boolean, and define. Primitives, non-primitives are arrays and objects and even functions. Even functions. Okay, these are non-primitives. So these are going to deal with, these are reference. Okay, reference type. These are value types. These are going to deal with the value. Non-primitives are going to deal with the references. Okay, so I will draw the diagram one more time so that you will understand clearly. You will understand clearly. So if you see, suppose take the same example. Take the same example. Constant marks is equal to 66, 77, and 88. 88. Suppose if you give this thing to a JavaScript as a first statement, so what it will do, so you should remember the JavaScript runtime environment. So that's the most important. So, so here I'm just going to, because anyway API part and event loop and those things we are going to enter in like few days. Right now for this program we no need to touch that topic. So this is, I'm just drawing what's happening in JavaScript engine. So we know we have a JIT compiler. So JIT compiler, don't worry about that now. So this is the call stack, right? And this is the memory stack, and this is the memory heap. Memory heap. So observe carefully. This topic is very, very important. So anyway, we don't have any local execution context. So this is the global execution context. So I think everyone is aware of these names. If you're, I think if you're following from the beginning. If you're watching this series first time, maybe you will get a confusion. So I'm just writing this is JavaScript engine, and here this is the call stack. So you should register these things in your memory. You don't need to write the diagram every time. So but still I will draw the diagram for students, but you should be in a situation that you can imagine everything in your brain. So this is the window object. This is the window object. It will take some time to draw this. Bear with me. Window object. And this is the memory stack. This is the memory stack. This is the JIT compiler. And this is a heap memory. Heap memory. Okay. So we know that whenever it is going to execute this program, whenever you're going to execute this program, so let's add one more statement in here. What is that? Okay, so here if you try to suppose marks is equal to, and if you're trying to change some 66 and 77 and comma 100, so this is what our expectation. So if you try to reassign, what will happen? Observe carefully. So whenever, so first it will go for the phase one, so it will allocate the memory. So right now we have only one variable that is called marks, so that here we know, right? First phase, it has undefined in the memory. The first phase, the first phase we have undefined and defined. So marks value is undefined. You can debug the code and you can check in the browser. The value is undefined. So memory allocation phase is completed because we have only one thing, and later you can do console.log and you can log the details. So memory allocation phase is completed. Now we are entering into the execution phase. In the phase 2, what will happen? Again, it will go to this statement. So here it will consider marks is equal to 66, 77, 88. Okay, fantastic. So for that, what will happen? It will store this information. It will store this information. It will store this information in heap memory. So that's what we have understood, right? And suppose imagine this address details is like 0 into some 100. So it will follow some different notation even. So for example, for understanding purpose, I'm just giving the address of this memory is 2000. So here what will happen in the memory stack? It will store 2000 as a pointer, right? Do you remember? 2000 as a pointer. So if it is storing address of any other variable, you should mention it is a star mark. Give a star mark. That means it's a pointer. So that means if you give a pointer means it is a reference type. This is the most important thing. So this is the reference type. So whenever you do console.log marks, what will happen? First it will go to this and it will say it is not going to return 2000, and it will go to this address and it will read this information. So that is what a reference type. I hope you know already if you watch the series properly. Okay, now what will happen? What you are trying to do, marks is equal to 66, 77, and 100. So here, this is a constant. This is the constant. Suppose if it is a var, no problem because it will allow to reassign or redeclare anything. But constant, the rule is it is not going to allow to reassign the value. So suppose whenever you try to reassign a value, what will happen naturally, if it is allow to reassign, reassign, reassignment means, okay, I will tell you example with a var now, and then we can switch to constant easily. So in case if it is a var, in case it is a var, what it will do now, reassignment means it will copy this one, it will copy this one, and it will store somewhere again in the heap memory. Observe carefully, again in the heap memory, and the address will be 3000. So for example, address will be 3000. So now this will be, it will store this address as, so 3000, 3000, and of course it's a pointer. Of course it is a pointer. Of course it is a pointer. So previously it is pointing to this location, right? Okay, before reassignment, before this is pointing to this location. Now it will point to this location, and again it will point to this memory. So if you do with the var, this is happening in the background. It doesn't show any error. So again, okay, garbage collector, the garbage collector will continuously checking. So if there's any memory don't have a reference in the memory stack, it will try to clean it. It will try to clean it. So it will clean this memory. Okay, this is happening. So it will remove them. So if now you don't have any problem, marks means you will get 66, 77, and 100. Of course, if you reassign with 100, here it will store 100 here, and you will get the output. So if you see, even we can test that here. We can test that here. So if you declare with a var, that's what we had discussed so far. If you declare with a var, if you declare with var, even though it is dealing with the references, even it will allow us to reassign the value. So you can reassign 66, 77, and 100. Okay, so you don't get any error. Console.log, console.log marks. So if you see, so if you are able to get 66, 77, and 100, that is the proof that, so it is working, it's not showing an error. That means whenever you assign a new value to a already if it is an array, it will allocate the memory in a different location, and this will point to the new memory, and it will store this address here. Okay, like that it will happen. So but when it comes to the constant, observe carefully. Okay, of course, even now if you do like marks dot push, so marks dot push, what will happen? Suppose if you try to add information, or if you want to change the information, like marks of 2 is equal to, suppose if you are giving 55, even in this situation also it doesn't show any error here, and it will check marks of 2, because it will a reference type, marks of 2 0 1 2. So it will simply replace this value replace this value as 55. Even if you push pop anything, no problem for us. But only problem with the constant is it is not allowing us to constant marks. So first it will be undefined in a memory execution phase. It will allocate the memory in the heap memory, and it will store these details. It will store these details here. It will store these details here. So here constant, whenever you try to do marks is equal to 66, 77, and 100, what should happen according to our discussion? What should happen? It will store the new details. It will store this new detail 66, 77, and 800. So suppose I'm just copying the same thing. It will store in a different memory allocation, and the value will, just a minute, you can't do this. Okay, you can't do this. So constant is restricting to reassign the value. That's why if you try to reassign marks is equal to 66, 77, and 100, it is not going to allow to do this task like this. It will restrict this. It will restrict this part. That's why it will show an error while you're reassigning. So that is the importance of constant. But even though if it is a constant, if you try to push things. So if you see marks is equal to 66, 77, and 800. So what you're trying to do here, you are reassigning. So then it will show through an error, because constant is against to reassign the value. So whenever you try to reassign, it will allocate the new address here. It will store the details in some different location, and you should store that address value in a new place in the memory stack. So constant is going to restrict that. That's why it is showing an error. So that's why this is error. But we don't have any problem for this. So what you're doing, marks of 2 is equal to 55, even though it is a constant, it's simply going. So because it's a reference type, you're not going to do anything in the memory stack. So marks of 2, so it will go to this memory, and happily we can change the value from 88 to 100. 88 to 100. Or even if you want to push the new value, no